All right. So most of you guys know me from what I see on here right now, but just going to make an introduction for those people that don't know me that well, and why should you guys listen to me? And what we're going to talk about tonight, I kind of stole from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm going to do 7 Habits of Highly Effective Fat Loss. These are basic rules I think that are prevalent, and if you want to get the physique you want to get, whether you're a guy or a girl, nutrition is going to be 70-80% of it, and this is going to be some do, and this is going to be some do in the gym, and some do in the kitchen, and just some other things that I'm going to throw in there too, outside of the gym or the kitchen. I've been doing this for fitness since I was 15 years old. So who am I and why should you listen to me? I always like to have that. My Bachelor of Science is in Mankato State. I was actually a Park and Rec grad. I had a minor in corporate fitness, which is basically like an exercise science degree. Right now I hold 3 accredited certifications. I've been in the field for 21 years plus. But I think the best thing, you can have all the degrees you want. You can have, fancy certifications and all these, a lot of letters behind your name, but, I'm a product of my own product. I'm a guinea pig of my own product. I'm a guy in my 40s. I have a very busy family life. Even though I own a fitness business, it's still a business. It's very demanding. So I get what it's like to be busy and trying to squeeze this in, even when I have a fitness business. A lot of times it can be even harder for the trainers, believe it or not, because we're taking care of everybody else, kind of like moms, you're trying to take care of everybody else, and sometimes your needs get put on the wayside. So I've done this. This picture on the left is me when I was a 270-pound football player at Mankato State, and me on the right here in my 40s doing a physique competition and my single-digit body fat. So I'm not telling people I used to do these crazy extremes like I have, but I've done both things. I've done the bulk up and the lean out thing. So, nothing's theory here. This is stuff I've done to myself, and I'm not just talking about myself here. I've had some great success stories in my business. Up on the upper left there's Michelle. She was worked with me. She was a Pilates teacher over at my old job. She was injured, had a back injury, couldn't exercise, gained a bunch of weight, and on the right, she's in a bikini, looking, fabulous. I have an even better picture of her. She actually did a women's bikini show. So she went from her worst place in life to her best place in just a little over a year. Lower left is Brad. He was one of my clients this past year I worked with. He's a guy about my age, busy life, kids, full-time work schedule, just, kind of the grind that a lot of parents are in. Friend of a friend, so one of my friends referred him into me, and, he worked out with me a couple times a week, but, really got serious about his nutrition. You can just see the results. He cut his body fat in half. He went from 19% down to 9%, so he cut it more than in half. Just a tremendous thing, and this was just in 3 months. Up on the upper right, busy hockey mom Betsy. She's still one of my favorite stories. Had been on every diet in the book. Had really struggled with losing weight and keeping it off and gaining it back. When she came to us, we worked with her on the nutrition and also on, some high-intensity workouts that helped her to do a better job of, working out on her own. That was going to help her metabolism increase. And there's just amazing results in, 12 weeks, once again, 21 pounds, 8% body fat. And then I like the lower right one too. Steve was a former Delta pilot, was retired, former athlete, still had an athlete in him, but had kind of fallen into a rut of eating a lot of Burger King late at night because he was doing a lot of training for Delta Airlines pilots late at night. So he would stop in the fast food because he didn't want to wake his wife up when he went home to eat dinner late. And gained 50 pounds, but was able to take off that 50 pounds on the right. And it was, the combination of nutrition and some of the things we're talking about here tonight. And Steve's 60 years old, I believe. So you're never too old to get started on this. In fact, we have a client who's 85 years old. So don't let age be your excuse. Sometimes we want to throw in the white towel and say, oh, it's my metabolism. There's nothing I can do about it because I'm getting old. And that's, frankly, that's my mind. That's BS. A lot of it's because of the habits we have now versus the habits we had when we were younger. So there's good news, though. We can undo those habits, and that's what we're here for tonight, is to really talk about what can we do to get on the fast track to fat loss. So I'm going down here to the next slide to get into the 7 habits. Number 1 is don't spike your blood sugar. This is probably the number 1 problem I see with people. Why do they get fat? Because it's not the calories, it's what we're doing to our blood sugar. You can see that red line there. That red line could be having a big bowl of breakfast cereal in the morning, eating a processed bagel with some juice, drinking pop, drinking one of those fancy drinks at Starbucks or Caribou, it raises your blood sugar up, that red line, and what that does is when your blood sugar spikes, your body releases a lot of the hormone insulin. And when you have this happen over and over time, you become what's called insulin resistant. And that can lead to what's called metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is a pretty serious deal, you guys. People sometimes kind of laugh about, maybe they kind of half-heartedly laugh about, maybe gaining weight around the midsection. That's kind of a precursor to cardiovascular disease. Really, they found that 1/4 of the people in the world have metabolic syndrome, where they're a combination of factors. They have high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and abnormal cholesterol levels. And this can be putting you at 5 times the greater risk for diabetes, 3 times the risk for cardiovascular disease, and 2 times likely to die from cardiovascular diseases. That puts it ahead of HIV. That's how serious it is. So metabolic syndrome is a big deal. It's kind of like the tipping point where you're going to go over the hill. So I think it's the main thing why people have trouble losing weight, why they can't get the body fat off, why they can never get the physique they want, because sometimes we're just focused on calories, but we're not looking at what's really going on here tonight. We can just talk about calories, but I see plenty of food logs where the calories are really low, but there's a lot of spiking the blood sugar going on, and the person that I'm looking at is probably 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight. So making sure we're not doing that, and we're eating lower glycemic foods, and we're keeping that blood sugar more stable. It's even like in the U.S., it's 35% of all adults right now, they feel, with the latest statistics, have metabolic syndrome, and 50% of people 60 or older. And I would believe this because most of the time when I look at food journals, this is problem number one. It's public enemy number one. And how do we get away from doing that? So making sure we're managing our blood sugar should be priority number one. This 8-week challenge we're doing, making sure that you're not spiking your blood sugar, because if you are, you're basically shutting off your fat burning. Because when insulin levels get high trying to control blood sugar, it basically shuts down body fat burning. It's like taking a button on your fat burning switch and shutting it off. So we have to keep our blood sugar stable, and that keeps our body's hormones in a fat burning environment, and that's key. Because women know, you guys know more than any of us how crazy hormones can be. So we got to line our hormones up to work for us instead of against us. And most people right now have hormones working against them. And you're going to see some more articles I'm going to send out and post about this, because I think if you get this big rock, this is a big rock, you're going to have a lot of success. So how do we avoid spikes? So I kind of look at spikes. You got one thing on the left, which is the little nice kiddie ride, nice and smooth. I put that up there to kind of as a visual of what your blood sugar should be like. Your blood sugar should be like a kiddie ride. It shouldn't be crazy like the ride on the right, which is the roller coaster. So you want your blood sugar nice and stable. It's going to move a little bit when you eat. You're going to have a little bit of insulin release, a little bit of blood sugar deviation when you're eating food. But you don't want it to be like the right, where it's crazy peaks and valleys. And we've all experienced that after a big holiday meal. We eat the big meal and we want to go lay on the couch. That's the insulin being released into the system and taking all that blood sugar out of the system, and we get that crash afterwards. So how do we avoid that? The obvious, no refined sugars. I mean, everybody kind of knows pop, candy, but how about the flavored things? Some people are still falling for the old flavored yogurts, the flavored oatmeals. Those things have fake sugar in them, and we say refined, just think fake sugar. Those things will spike your blood sugar. A lot of the protein bars out there will have, they're so-called healthy, will have, 20 grams or more of refined sugar. So we really want to avoid sugar. Sugar is public enemy number one to fat loss. And not just sugar, but processed carbs, which break down just like sugar. Sometimes we'll see a package and we'll read it, and you'll see that there's not any sugar in it, but you'll see it'll be called instant, it'll be boxed, it'll be white, like white rice, white pasta. Even though there's no sugar in it, these type of carbohydrates break down faster than a lot of sugar, a lot of the good sugars, like the sugars from fruit. So we want to avoid these type of things. Even if it's, say it's brown rice, but it's instant, stay away from it, because if it's instant, it means it cooks quick. If it's cooks quick, it means it breaks down quick in your system. So you're better going with slower cooking things versus quick, on-the-fly type meals. Look out for the crackers and snack mixes. I'll tell you what, my dad's a prime example. I don't mean to throw my dad under the bus, but he's a creature of habit. He does not eat a lot of food, but what he does do a lot is he puts away bag after bag of Chex snack mix, and he's got all the metabolic syndrome features, which is that middle weight gain, he's got high blood pressure. And it's the different snacky foods that are throwing him off versus the sugar. Sorry, my computer almost went down on me here. So back online here. Most breads, I'm just going to tell you, most breads, grains, and cereals suck. And I just use that word just to kind of drive it home. There's not too many of them out there that are really good. The types of breads, if you're going to use bread, if you're a bread person, you need to have, if you really want to have some bread, there's two types I know of, Ezekiel bread and Udi's bread. You can get those at pretty much Cub. I've seen them at Costco. So those are sprouted grain breads, and you have to actually keep them in the fridge or the freezer because they don't have all the preservatives and stuff, so they'll go bad quickly. Most cereals, some of the Kashi cereals are good, but like Raisin Bran, some of these so-called healthy cereals typically will spike the blood sugar and have a lot of sugar hidden in them, and they're very processed. Just think about when you eat something, when you eat it, does it feel like you want to eat more? Cereal's notorious for that. How many of us, when we have a bowl of cereal, can have just one bowl? I know, like, that's one of my favorite guilty pleasures. If I have a bowl of cereal, usually it ends up being 2 or 3, and that's a good sign of a glycemic food. It's something that keeps you, making you hungry and keep eating more. Think of pretzels and apples. When you're at a party, if you had a bowl of pretzels and apples, which bowl would you be refilling constantly? You wouldn't sit down and take down the whole bowl of apples. You'd take down the whole bowl of pretzels and probably keep going because pretzels is a high glycemic food. It's going to spike your blood sugar, which is going to keep you feeling hungry, keep you eating. Another way to offset spikes is to eat protein at every meal and snack, and I'm going to get into more depth on why that is. Fiber and good fats also with your meals will slow down blood sugar. They kind of put the brakes on it. Even if you have something that maybe is a little bit higher glycemic or something that's maybe some white rice or something that's really high glycemic, if you have it with something that's you've got some protein, fiber, and good fat, it's going to slow down the spike. Now, I still would avoid those white things, but if you're going to have those things, I would make sure you have protein, you have some of those things, high fiber things. Vegetables are great because they have a lot of fiber in there too, and good fats like coconut oils, flaxseed, nuts, avocados, natural peanut butter, even egg yolks. Good fats will also help take that blood sugar and help control it as well. Another thing you want to really watch, and this is another one I see with a lot of people, is not to skip meals. When you skip meals, your blood sugar will actually go really low, which puts your body, kind of freaks your body out. When your body gets real low, you're going to be more hungry and your body's going to want to drive that blood sugar back up. You're going to go through an extreme. You're going to go to the bottom, and then you're going to want to jettison back up to the top. So this happens to a lot of people. Most of the time I see it is with the afternoon snack. People are at work. They're busy. They're not hungry at the time. They're trying to get their work done, so they go home for the day, and they skip that afternoon snack. Well, guess what happens? They get home, and when they start making dinner, they're hungry because their blood sugar is low, and the feeding starts into the night. And really what they've shown is 70% of the people eat 70% of their calories at night when it should be the other way around. We want to eat more of our calories earlier in the day when we have a chance to actually use them and burn them off versus at night when our body systems are slowing down and they're going to be more likely to be stored as excess body fat. So make sure we're not skipping meals, especially breakfast. Think of breakfast as the jump start for your day, for your metabolism. Notice the word break the fast. If you break it in two, it's like lighting up your grill. It's the igniter for your day. So if you're not eating breakfast, you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage. Your metabolism works a lot like a fire, like a campfire out back. If you're not putting kindling on that fire every so often, that fire is going to start to burn out and start to go down. If you're skipping meals and you're starving yourself, the problem there too is you're going to have unstable blood sugar, but you're also, over time when you do that, your body's hormones will down-regulate down. They've actually showed thyroid, extreme low calories for over 2 weeks will drop by 38%. So sometimes the things we're trying to do to lose weight are really doing us more damage than good. And starving yourself and skipping meals is not a good idea if you want to get a healthy metabolism. So I'm going to get off this point, but I'm going to have more on this. But do not spike your blood sugar. Really watch what you're putting in your body. And the other thing I know I don't mention in here, the other thing that's kind of contributes to this is alcohol. Alcohol typically, depending on what you're drinking, but even alcohol will create chemical effects within the body that's going to disinhibit you from wanting to eat. So think about when you go out and eat and when you start drinking alcohol, and typically when you do that, you pair it with some food instead, typically not the most healthy type of food. So you really want to avoid alcohol content as much as possible. If you do it, keep it to 1 day a week, and make sure before you drink you have something to eat. Kind of treat alcohol a lot like refined sugar. If sugar is number one enemy of fat loss, Alcohol is number 2. So those are the top 2 things I see that really people have to really cut back on or completely eliminate. I don't think you can completely eliminate anything. I know there's some people that just don't drink, but it's really hard to say I'm never going to have sugar in my life again. But to really severely minimize would probably be a better way to put it, to really see the results that you want. Habit number 2, this is another one, and I'm just kind of going off what I see in food journals on this thing. People just don't eat enough good protein. And, you know, I'm sorry, peanut butter is not a protein. When I talk protein, I'm talking about stuff from animal sources. If you're a vegetarian, you can get a complete protein. It's much harder, but complete protein, meats, eggs, dairy products, because they have all the amino acids you need to help rebuild and restore muscle tissue. And that's important because muscle is more metabolic than fat. It actually takes a lot more calories to maintain a pound of muscle than it does a pound of fat, which virtually takes 0 calories. So having a maintaining muscle tissue is key to having your metabolism stay strong. It is also a big controller of blood sugar and appetite. One thing you'll notice when you're eating more protein is you will feel more full, you'll feel less hungry, and you won't feel those blood sugar spikes. You won't feel like, you know, taking down a second helping or snacking on those, you know, something that your coworker has brought into work. It is also the most metabolic boosting nutrient. It actually has the thermogenic effect, meaning it's going to heat your body up. Remember, calories are a measure of heat. So when you have a protein, it actually, 27% of every protein calorie is used to break itself down. So protein actually requires calories to process it. So your body actually will increase its metabolism to actually process the protein. So it does speed up the metabolism a little bit. So there's that thermic effect of food that nobody really talks about. What are some guidelines? How much is enough protein? Typically with guys, 30, 40 grams at a meal, 20, 30 grams per snack. Women, just a little bit less, 20, 30 grams at a meal, 10 to 20 grams at a snack. And just to kind of give you a ballpark, a whole egg is about 6 grams of protein. An egg white is about 3 grams. For every ounce of meat or fish, typically you're going to get about minus maybe 1 or 2 grams, maybe a 1 gram or so, but you're going to get about 7 grams of protein per ounce of meat or fish, generally speaking. So when you're kind of looking at, for women, you should be having about a 3-ounce, piece of protein, chicken breast or lean beef. Guys, it's going to be a little bit bigger than that, probably more like 4 to 6 ounces. So just make sure you're getting enough protein throughout the day. Think of it like an IV. You want that protein kind of flowing in to keep the blood sugar under control, but to also keep feeding that lean mass. Number 3, we want to drink plenty of water. People always talk about this. Why is this important? A lot of times when I do consults, people really aren't doing this piece. It's the cheapest, but one of the most effective nutrients out there. When you look at, I know I said I did physique shows and things like that. I know, probably nobody here is ever going to do something that crazy. But the goal of that is to get really, really lean and lose body fat. And if you watch anybody that's doing that knows what the heck they're doing, one of the big parts of that whole plan is to drink a lot of water. And there's a few reasons for this. Is we want to flush out toxins, and toxins can kind of help prevent the body from absorbing nutrients, especially in the digestive tract. It can also, excess to a lot of water can flush out bloating. We've all felt it maybe when we've had the holidays where we've eaten a lot of salts or we've eaten a lot of processed foods, and we feel like we're kind of, we feel like, I'll use my Star Wars reference I've been using, Jabba the Hutt. We kind of feel bloated. So we want to make sure we're drinking a lot of water because that'll flush out that excess sodium, that excess water that comes in under the skin. And it's not really fat, but it also feels like fat. But when you get that water off from the skin, that's one of the things that's going to contribute to looking leaner and toner. And it's going to help the whole complexion of your skin. Your skin is your biggest organ, so drinking a lot of water is going to help the skin look better just naturally instead of going out and buying a bunch of real expensive skincare products. One of the cheapest things you can do is drink more water. Also, it helps carry fats through the system so your body can't absorb them. So it's kind of like, think about a tidal wave going through your system, and if the fats are on a tidal wave, they can't get off. They're going to surf that thing all the way down. So you want to keep things moving through the system, kind of like oil in a car. It also helps with nutrient transport, especially vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals are like spark plugs to fat loss. They help keep your metabolism going, just like spark plugs do in the engine of a car. And one of the big ways your body absorbs these things is through water intake. So if you're dehydrated, you're going to severely limit your body's ability to digest and absorb nutrients. So and get rid of the bad stuff. So basically, if we want to break it down, the ability of your body to keep the good stuff, get the good stuff in your system, and get rid of the bad stuff. We always say drink at least half your body weight minimum. The test I like to use, because because things vary throughout the year, is the pee test. When you're drinking water, you should be pure. Your pee should look clear. That's a good sign that you're very well hydrated. And you know what? One of the side effects you might find is you might be running to the bathroom a little bit more, but that's better than the other half is being dehydrated. Because once you're dehydrated, that's going to affect your ability to work out effectively in the gym. It's going to affect your cognition and mental focus. It's going to affect your cardiovascular system. So, and a lot of times, you know, going to the last point, when you're hungry, part of the reason you're hungry is you're dehydrated. So when you're drinking more water, that's also going to help you control your appetite so you can stay on task with your nutrition plan. So make sure we're drinking lots of water. I don't like to drink a lot of the tap waters around here because they have so many minerals and additives in them. So I would recommend, you know, reverse osmosis water, you know, some spring water. You can do a little bit of distilled water. Distilled water can flush you out. I just learned something the other day about that, is that, you know, you don't want to drink a ton of distilled water, but we used to drink a little bit of that because it does help flush the system out a little bit more. But use some of these higher quality purified waters just so you're not putting more toxins in your system, because some of the tap water, frankly, is pretty scary around here. Number 4, metabolic strength training. So I got 2 pictures up there. We've got kettlebell swing and we've got a butt blaster machine at a Health Club X there. The difference is they're both targeting the same area. We call it the posterior chain, butt, hamstrings, low back. But the first one in the picture is much, much more effective because what it's doing is it's actually teaching your body to move athletically. You're not being stabilized by a pad. In real life, when you're moving athletically, you don't have a pad attached to you and you're running around and that pad's holding you so you can target the butt. But if you do a kettlebell swing right, you're going to target the butt, the hamstrings, but you're also going to kick up the metabolism because you're using more muscles than you would on the butt blaster, and you're going to get your heart rate up higher. So one of the big reasons we do metabolic strength training, when I say metabolic strength training, you think about metabolic strength training is going to be more circuit type strength training, doing bigger total body movements versus the old school, like back in the day when I started at my health club out of college, we did Nautilus and Cybex, and everybody got the same workout on the machines. There was 3 sets of 10 on the chest press, on the leg press. You do a set of 10, you sit around and look at the clock, maybe talk to your buddy, and then maybe do another set. A lot of times you didn't really break a sweat. With metabolic strength training, you don't really sit still very much. If you look at how we train in our studio, we do this because we want to get your heart rate up, we want to get you sweating, and this creates what's called EPOC, which is it's exercise post-oxygen consumption. And it's basically an afterburn effect, meaning that your body's going to continue to burn calories at an elevated rate 24 to 36 hours post-workout. You're not going to get that with a traditional strength workout. Now, if your goal is fat loss, this is how you want to train your strength training. You don't want to be sitting around, watching this clock. Now, if you're going for strength goals, or you're a power lifter, or even some bodybuilding programs, you might do that. But for the most part, everybody's here because they want to drop body fat, they want to lean out. So we want to be doing metabolic strength type workouts. You're going to burn more calories during the workout and after the workout. You're also going to stimulate what I think are the big players when it comes to fat burning hormones. We talked about a fat storing hormone, which is insulin, but we're going to talk about elevating human growth hormone levels and catecholamine levels. And as we age, our growth hormone naturally decreases. That's why you're seeing people like Sylvester Stallone getting picked up with his HGH because they're trying to keep it's been called one of the fountains of youth, and you can stimulate your own fountain of youth without paying $4,000 to $6,000 a month by just doing higher intensity type exercise. Simple as that, and it's a good way to stimulate your own natural growth hormone levels. Because on their own, they typically will drop on their own, but the good news is you don't have to pay that money at some one of those wellness clinics in Florida. You can do it on your own in a much safer, legal way. More lean mass, bottom line, equals a higher metabolism. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, more lean mass equals more calories burned at rest. That's a higher metabolism, which equals less fat. And I would put, when it comes to fat loss, this is where this kind of is the shocker to a lot of people. I would put number 1, nutrition. I would always put nutrition because that's something you got to focus on all day. Once your workout's done, it's done. You don't have to do nutrition anymore. You don't have to do working out anymore. You're done for the day, but you still have to focus on nutrition because you could have a killer workout and you can undo all the calorie burning and metabolic effects by having, knocking down a full pizza at night, something like that. So that's why I put nutrition first. But in terms of exercise, I put strength training, metabolic strength training, ahead of the pack because, the line is if you want to keep your body fat off, you got to keep your muscle mass up, and that's why a lot of traditional diets don't work, because they starve off a lot of the muscle, which lowers the metabolism, which creates that yo-yo effect. So when you start eating again, you have less muscle, your metabolism's lower, so when you're eating, even if you're not eating as many calories, you're going to stack on body fat much, much quicker. And that, in my opinion, from what I've seen over the years, is one of the big reasons why people yo-yo so badly. And we see that all the time. People will do one of the programs, like MetaFast or HCG diet. I've seen a lot of these where they're really low calorie. People do lose weight, but they get skinny fat. They lose weight, but their skin's loose. They don't look toned, but they lose the weight and they're weak. Because we've had some of them come in our program, and I've seen what people should be lifting. I know what good strength or average strength is, and these people are typically below average strength because they've lost a lot of their muscle tissue, which is setting them up for yo-yo dieting if they don't stay on top of the strength training. I generally recommend 2 to 4 sessions a week of this. A lot of our women can get 2 good sessions of this a week and they can still make progress. Obviously, if you can do more, it's going to be a little more aggressive, but you can do 2 sessions a week of this and still make decent progress. So it's not like you have to be in the gym 7 days a week. And what I would say is if you don't have a lot of time, if you're the busy mom on the run, I would rather see you do 3 metabolic strength training sessions, and then we'll talk about how you can fit your cardio in, versus doing a bunch of cardio on its own or doing 1 strength session and 2 cardio. So I would prioritize strength training in this 8-week challenge, and we've got some good done for you templates. Some of you are working with us, so this piece is going to be taken care of. But you'll see this is how we do things at Pure Vita Fitness, because we want to try to create a hormonal environment with the exercise, and then you have to keep the hormonal environment sound with the nutrition piece. That's why we talked about the blood sugar, the protein, and the water. So that's your job to make sure you're putting the right things in your body, so you're controlling the hormones on your end, and we'll stimulate the right ones on our end. Number 5. This is kind of a new one, HIIT cardio steady state mix. There's been a lot of controversy versus this in the fitness field that HIIT cardio it kills, the steady state is worthless. You see on the right, a little jazzercise there for those of us who grew up in the 80s, versus burpees. HIIT cardio, kind of known as the high-intensity interval training, sprinting and jogging on a treadmill. You see a lot of classes. We have a HIIT class at our studio where you're doing a lot of burpees, kettlebell swings, things to get your heart rate up, and you're going really hard for a short amount of time, and you're having some built-in recovery period. This has been shown to burn a lot more fat. It creates, once again, that post-workout afterburn effect, and it also raises up those hormones like human growth hormone, catecholamines, much like the metabolic strength training. But here's the kicker. Here's something new they've thrown into the mix. Doing the high-intensity cardio, and I'm not saying you have to do it for a long time, but, doing good 10 to 15 minutes of high-intensity cardio, whether you're doing sprints, burpees, whatever, to get your heart rate up, and then following it up with 20 to 25 minutes of the old steady-state cardio at the end is really the ideal. Because when you do that HIIT cardio, you actually release fatty acids into the system. When you do that, they can sometimes be reabsorbed into the system. And one way to prevent that from happening after the HIIT cardio is over is to jump on and do the 20 to 25 minutes of steady state, whether it's a elliptical or walking on the treadmill or going for a power walk, whatever that is. That helps your body flush out those fatty acids. So work hard for 10 to 15, 20 minutes tops, and then you're going to do, ideally if you have the time, do 20 minutes, 25 minutes of steady state cardio to kind of flush out those fatty acids. That's what the newest research is showing. A combination of the two. They're both good. They both use both your energy systems, your anaerobic and your aerobic. We need both of them. So it's kind of the way to train the best of both worlds. So think of the end of it as like a long cool down. The metabolic finishers are great because some people just can't do cardio on their own and they can't do strength. So what do? What's the solution? Metabolic finishers are what I like to use with a lot of my programs for people that just can't separate their cardio and strength routines. And what metabolic finishers are, they're short, high-intensity cardio things you can put in at the end of your workout. They might be 5 to 10 minutes long, but you're going to work your butt off for those 5 to 10 minutes. We use things like Tabata, where you go 20 seconds really hard, 10 seconds rest. We might do jump rope Tabatas, where you go 20 seconds, jump rope really fast, 10-second recover, 20 seconds on, 10-second recover. And we do that for maybe like 5 to 10 minutes straight. And it doesn't sound like really long, but when you're doing it, it feels like a lifetime. Or you're doing complexes where you're doing a bodyweight complex might be you do 30 mountain climbers, 20 push-ups, 10 groiners, which is kind of like where you put your arm on the floor and you jump up, jump your legs wide. It almost looks like a gymnastics move, and you finish up with 5 burpees. So you're doing 4 different exercises kind of in a circle with your body. That's what's called a complex. Those are just examples of a couple things. You work hard at the end of the workout, so we just add a little extra kick to the metabolism, and you get some cardiovascular conditioning. And that's what I recommend for people that can't get to the gym as much as maybe some other people, and you're still going to get great results by doing that. But the HIIT cardio steady state mix is the ideal. If you're doing your cardio during this would be what I would recommend if you're trying to maximize your body's fat loss potential. 10 to 15 minutes working hard, and then 20-25 kind of that moderate to slower pace on the HIIT cardio. And everybody who's in this challenge should have got the cardio guide, and this is in that cardio guide that I sent out during that. A guy that I follow, that's the cardio guide I purchased last year, and it spells it out really, really well in there why this works. Number 6, this is what separates proverbial men from the boys. Sorry, I know we have a lot of girls on this call, but this is where people typically fall apart. Number 6 is being prepared, and this is where people don't put time that's needed into this. So when people come in and sign up with personal training, a lot of times what we talk about is when they sign up is this is a partnership, and one of the deals of the partnership for the person that's working with us is they got to put some effort into their nutrition. Not just doing your food log, but to plan ahead. So once a week, at least once a week, you should be planning a shopping day. Maybe it's a Costco run. I know our family, we do a little bit of Costco. We do Costco, and then we do Cub. Do kind of a mix of things, but we try to stockpile and cook up a bunch of protein because it's always the hardest thing to cook. But have a shopping day so you can go out and get the foods on the list that you like and that you're prepared for the week. Because if you get into reactive mode, a lot of times it's easier to skip meals, which we talked about isn't always good. It's easier to go to the drive-thru or just say, we're hungry, the kids are complaining, let's just go out to eat and go get something quick. So make sure you get that shopping day done and cook up your food for the week. So you want to plan ahead, cook up some food, freeze some of it. I know we've done things like chilies. Sometimes we'll grill up chicken breasts and we'll have them in the freezer and we'll thaw them out during the week. But making sure that you have your food ready for the week. This is one of the things people don't get that is really an important step, but this is a really big step of packing your lunches and snacks as much as possible. Sometimes people have to eat out at lunch with colleagues or clients, but as much as possible you want to pack your lunch. Don't get suckered into doing the Subway healthy salad or the getting a salad at the restaurants because you don't know what they're putting in those things. So you want to be in control of your food as much as possible, and the way you do that is to prepare your own. Eating out, sometimes people get kind of lazy with their nutrition, and they do that a lot even though they're trying to make better choices on the menu. If you want to have maximum results, cook your own food, prepare your own food as much as possible. There's a lot of hidden calories in just even some of the sauces and ingredients that they use, even in the restaurant. Even if the meal appears healthy, I guarantee it's got a lot more sodium and things in it than if you were to prepare it yourself. So bring extra snacks with you just in case you get stuck somewhere. Why is this important? Because, like I said before, if you skip a meal, so all of a sudden you get stuck, maybe you're getting your car repaired somewhere and they find something and it's going to take longer, or you're at the doctor's office and, notoriously those take forever. And, pretty soon it's 5, 6, 7 hours before you've eaten something. Guess what's going to happen when you finally do get to eat something? You're more than likely going to be tempted to make a bad choice, and your blood sugar is going to drop out. So make sure you're keeping some extra snacks in your, in your purse or, on you, so that you, if you do get stuck, you have something you can keep that blood sugar under control. Remember the roller coaster analogy. If you let that blood sugar drop, there's going to probably be a big hill on the other side of it. So having those snacks with you is important. So having a good nutrition bar, like a meal replacement bar, protein bar, and nuts are 2 easy ones to do. And this is where most people will fail because they don't want to put the work in here. But this is really what separates people from success and failure when it comes to nutrition and fat loss. Because you can also be somewhat conscious of your portion sizes here as well. When you go into a restaurant, it's really, really hard to tell what your portion size is. And if you look at FitnessPal, and you type in a food from a restaurant, you'll get 5 different answers. But when you type in 3 ounces of chicken breast, it's going to be pretty similar. So it also allows you more accuracy when it comes to putting your portion sizes together and putting them in the FitnessPal so that you can be pretty sure of what you're taking in per day. Number 7 is accountability. Most of us in life need accountability. We have areas that we're not, maybe not getting the results we want. And I always like to use myself as an example. So years ago, I came out, I was a personal trainer, and I started my personal training business, and things were really easy at first. But then things changed. We had a recession. I lost a lot of what I had was basically like a hair salon. I had people paying me rent for space, and it was easy. And things changed. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting there in a recession, and I got to figure out how to run a business and how to bring in more clients, and then how to manage employees and all these new things that nobody taught me how to do. Lo and behold, I went out and got a business coach, and that person has taught me a lot of things, how to market, how to run my business better. And I don't always do a good job. It's kind of a lot like my personal training clients. I do fall off the wagon sometimes, but I have somebody there that encourages me, helps me troubleshoot problems with my business, because it's just, frankly, you guys, that isn't my forte. I'm naturally a personal trainer, but I know if I'm going to keep Pure Vita Fitness open, I need to have these things in place. She gives me honest assessments of what I'm doing, if it's a good idea, if it's not, and it keeps me focused, avoiding shiny objects. Especially in the fitness world, there's a lot of shiny objects. I know I had a person a few years ago, wrote up a great plan, had a class reunion, wanted to get in shape. 2 weeks into our plan, she all of a sudden decided to do Jillian Michaels' plan. After I put a ton of work and effort into planning and mapping out this whole plan for her, she decided 2 weeks later to do Jillian Michaels' plan. And then a couple months later it was something else. And, we're always going for the latest and greatest versus, completing the mission. And that's where a good accountability coach is going to help you complete the mission instead of always turning to the next thing. When you keep turning, you just turn in circles and you just spin your wheels. And so that's where accountability is really big. So I would encourage you, if you're not doing great in the nutrition, and most of you guys on this are part of our challenge, so you're going to get this piece, but get accountability in the areas of your life. And I'm not just talking fitness that you want to get better in, because I know I've got coaches in other areas of my life that have really helped me make strides and progress there. How often do we hear I'm going to do it on my own only to waste time and money? I know my neighbor across the street put a for sale by owner sign up. Told my wife, I said it'd be about a month, and it was less than that, and they finally hired a real estate agent. There's a reason people do what they do. What they do is they buy you effectiveness, speed, and versus trying to try it on your own or Google it, and you don't know if that's the right thing for you. That's where a good accountability coach comes in. So accountability coaches are huge. And that, like I said, not in fitness, but I'm just talking about anything in life that you want to get better. And I use myself, like I said, I wouldn't be where I'm at in business if it wasn't for my coach. And I still talk to her every week, and I still have homework, and it's great because it makes me get stuff done. It makes me focus on what I need to focus on instead of getting caught up in stuff that isn't important. Here's some bonus. This is a big one too. I've seen people a lot of times. They look like on paper they're making their workouts, they're eating right, but why aren't they losing weight? And these two are big factors. Sleep is a big factor because there's been a lot of studies out there that lack of sleep can contribute to weight gain. Once again, it throws your hormones off. It'll raise a hormone up called ghrelin, and ghrelin is a hormone in your body that tells your body you're hungry. So it's going to promote more overeating. It also will raise cortisol. If you don't know what cortisol is a stress hormone. Cortisol helps your body in a fight or flight situation, meaning that your body thinks you're running away or you're having a fight, so it's going to dump a bunch of sugar into the system for immediate energy. Now, if you think about back to the first thing when we talked about insulin resistance, high cortisol levels can help promote insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, because if you think about it, your body's pulling sugars out of its system in a rapid amount for the fight or flight. So what that does is that promotes weight gain, especially around the middle. It promotes hunger. And those are all the things that are going to be working against us. So make sure you're getting some good, solid sleep. And I would say at least 7 hours per night, uninterrupted. This is a hard one for me, too. I'll be honest. This is a tough one because I'm a type A. I'm driven. I want to get things done. But make sure you're creating an environment to have some good sleep. And, try to avoid screen time. Try to have a quiet environment. Try to have a consistent routine. And try not to vary your sleep times too much, and even on the weekends, because your body does better when it's in a rhythm. When it's in a rhythm, things run much more efficiently, like your metabolism. More rest also too, translating to better mental focus. And for intense workouts, you really need mental focus, and you obviously need energy. And so if you're not at your best for your workouts, you're gonna sabotage your ability to get the best results possible. Stress, this is a big one. We all have stress in our life. I think it's more about how do we deal with it. If we're over-scheduling ourselves and we're always putting ourselves in that fight or flight response, we're always 5 minutes late to something, we're always trying to cram one more thing in versus, backing off and taking some downtime, this is going to contribute to your body's hormonal and storing fat. A lot of people don't think about that, but, learning to be good with your time management. And I'm going to bring some of these things into play during this because I think these are some of the out-of-the-box things, and a lot of people just think diet and exercise, but trying to manage your stress levels is a big part of this, because if you don't have things in place to do that, hormonally you're going to be putting yourself at a disadvantage. And I see the biggest thing is mostly time management. People are just overscheduled, overbooked, and underrested, and that kind of leads to this piece as well. So we want to make sure and at least talk about this piece during this, because this does contribute to your success. And then these are just my 7 habits plus my 1 bonus. So does anybody have any questions on this? I'm going to actually do another seminar on top of this, a little more advanced stuff, but this is some good basic stuff to get you going, as well as all the guide stuff that we sent out there. Questions, comments? You must have done a great job because nobody has anything. All right, guys. Well, I'm going once, going twice. If anybody has any questions, or if you prefer to email me, you can. Some of you guys are working with me directly, or one of my trainers, and that's great to ask them about this. But hopefully this was helpful. These 7 habits, like I said, these are bread and butter. And I'm a football coach, and the fundamentals will take you a long ways. There's all kinds of fancy things. We watch Dr. Oz. We watch some of these things, and there's the latest, greatest cuckooberry root or herb that's going to do magic. But there is no magic to this. You know what? Those of us that if you want to if it took years to put weight on, it's going to take a little while to take it off. I'm not going to say it's going to take years, but it's not going to take 30 days like the signs on the road. I'm kind of a no-frills type of guy. Hard work is going to pay off over time. Consistent effort, consistent daily effort. And the other thing I want to tell you guys is be okay with, there's going to be slip-ups. Fitness is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Nobody on our success story page on our website was perfect. They had setbacks. They had sickness in their family. They had, downtimes. Crises come up, but they stuck with it. And this 8 weeks is going to go by pretty fast. So look at this as the beginning of lifelong habits, and stick with this thing. And don't let the first obstacle that comes up derail you and say, I can't do this, because you can do this. I've seen this for over 21 years, and what we want to do is not just look at the weight loss piece, but look at this as becoming a permanent fixture in your life. Like maybe something else you do. Maybe it's like walking the dog or brushing your teeth. It's just part of what you do, and that's what we want to get it to, is subconscious. This is just part of your routine, because not only we're talking physically feeling better, but we're talking about mental effects. I know personally, back when I was in my 20s, and I'll just share this to kind of close it, it was all about looking good for the opposite sex. I'll just be honest about that. It was real shallow. But now that I'm older and I have kids and I have a business and I have a family and I have a lot going on, I'll tell you what, doing this exercise for me keeps me sane. It is the best antidepressant and anxiety drug you could ever have. It gives me a good sense of well-being and a good sense of mental focus, so it helps me focus on doing good in all my roles in life, whether it be a business owner, a dad, or a husband. It does help me do better in those things. I feel like the mental effects almost outweigh the physical effects. And so, that's what I hope you guys get from this too, is don't just think of this as how you look in the mirror, but how you feel in your mind and as well as how you feel in your body, because what we want to look at is sometimes people, especially the moms, feel like you're taking time away from your family, but I guarantee if you stick with this and you take the time and make this a priority, you will become more productive and more fulfilled in other areas of your life. This will add to, not take away from those areas of your life. And that's my closing thought for tonight. So I will record this, so if you had anybody that couldn't be on this, I will have this posted up on the Total Transformation Facebook page, and then I will send an email out as well. And I will be doing another webinar a little bit more advanced as we get into this a little bit more. But I like these formats because if people can't be here, they can actually listen to this later on. But I thank everybody for being on here tonight. Hopefully it was a good use of your time, and hopefully you got something out of it. And if I gave you at least one thing, it was worth it. So that's it, and you guys have a good night, and we'll see you in the studio.
Thanks, Eric.